Hello, everyone, again. Can you hear me now? Clap your hands, please. Okay, thank you very much. As with anything, we are now back. I made a mistake. I was on mute. I apologize for that. So I just want to start with, and it's funny because Carlos is here in front of me and he's recording everything, and I'm pretty sure that he's cracking up about this. So thank you so much for joining. The idea of using Theo as a tool is essentially to give you another perspective, right? In Reinvention Revolution, we do focus on mindset. We'll talk a lot about that mindset today. We do focus on marketing and how you can position your products and services. And we also focus on tech, right? This new technology, what it enables us is to have a close interaction with people, and it allows us to also create this personal feeling and relation, even if you're in your pajamas. In my case here, I'm sitting in an office, and as you see, for the family members who were here last week, we had a much smaller venue. So we are testing larger venues, and we brought in a stage into the picture. And the reason for that is when you are presenting, it's very important that you have like a separated place. And imagine that you're presenting, for example, Baldan, if you're inviting people for your store here, that you could showcase all the products that you want to promote while sitting on stage. Or let's say, Alex, if you want to do one of the club meetings here, you could get a smaller venue where people are sitting around the table like last week. Or you could invite a guest, and that guest would be sitting here on stage, right? And you would be talking to that person, interviewing that person, and talking to him or her. So the beauty of this is that it allows us familiarity with familiarity with the venue, right? And a new experience for our customers altogether. So just a big disclaimer: I am not an affiliate for Theo, even though I think the video that Charlie did last week had more than 1,500 views only on my LinkedIn profile, plus everything that got out there. We got the attention of their CEO as well. He sent me a message saying this was amazing. Had never seen something done like that, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be using that in the future. So before we start, a little bit of house rules. Okay, and the ones in the family, no, let's focus on the conversation, not the tool. We will have an Ask Me Anything towards the end, just in case you want to throw anything about the tool, anything about the programs, anything about anything. The next thing is if you're on a computer, you press 0, and then you're going to show some balloons, and that indicates that you have a question. The beauty of being in a stage, it is that. Yeah, Alex, do you have a question? Awesome. So here, the last thing is let's have some fun, right? The objective of this is also to have a little bit of fun and act like you're playing a game. Before I get into the main topic of the day, which are those 3 questions that are going to make your day a lot more meaningful and productive, I want to touch on why this kind of venue is important, right? In this room, I think the youngest one of us is probably 30 years old. Our kids are playing in environments like this today already, right? If you don't have kids, you're not seeing that happen. But the kids are already sitting in environments like this. They're building avatars of themselves. They're collecting prizes and missions. They're doing a lot of things that are happening in the virtual world. In 2003, there was a company in Sweden that founded an application called Second Life. Second Life was exactly a mix of game, meeting, and a lot of other things. But the most important thing about it was it was monetizable. So people were monetizing on Second Life. So they created all kinds of tokens, prizes, things that would allow them to actually capture value from the outside world inside. They were one of the first companies that created this. So what's important here is that we have a long way to go, but the reality is that we are now going into a stage where these things are going to become important for our business, right? Imagine that you can put 200 people virtually listening to you on a stage. That changes everything, okay? Just a fun fact, something that someone brought up to my attention last week after I posted about this. There are a lot of executives now meeting inside video games, right? I never thought about that this way, but there was an article in the New York Times about and I'm talking about high-level executives, right? Meeting on Grand Auto Theft and some other video games, Minecraft, in order to have virtual conversations in an environment that for them it's appealing. I think this is a huge changer for everything that is happening in the world now. So stay tuned for all the tech that is impacting your life and changing your business. All right. So moving forward, I want to present to you. You're going to be the first ones to see this. We are launching Act Now, which is our time expansion training. It's going to be an online training, and a big part of that online training has to do with the concept of analyzing your day before it starts and making sure that all the dots are crossed. A big part of it. So for those of you in the family, you have seen this before. I will today show you something that we created that is also a version of this. Alex was telling me that he prefers it, the piece of paper. I think I do too, but the reality is that I'm also looking for new ways to make this more accessible and more connected, right? But just a little bit of a backdrop on this one. Act Now was created, I think, probably 6-7 years ago, but I was using it. So what I was doing is I was looking for a way to improve the amount of time I had during the day for some of the more important and meaningful activities that I had to execute. At that time, I was still running sales in Brazil for Maersk, and I was intrigued by the fact that the day has the same 24 hours for everyone. Why are there people who produce $10,000 an hour and I was at the time producing $200, right? I did not really understand that relationship. So what I did was I started studying this. I think 8 years ago, and then 7 years ago, I started putting the system together. I'm not going to talk too much about the system, but to me, the most important part about that system is not the system per se, but this place here, what I call the focus reflection, right? And focus reflection, the questions in there have also evolved over time, and essentially because what I realized is that the big difference between the people who are very successful in life and everyone else is that these people, they actually think about the value that they're adding, and then they do something with that. So that reflection, okay, that when you reflect and act, it's extremely important. So over the years, I've been fine-tuning. These three questions came from, there is, when we were doing process improvement in Maersk, there was a thing called the three-question model, right? And that three-question model was not invented in Maersk. It was invented 25 years ago by a psychologist in England, and those questions for process improvement are what are you trying to accomplish? How do you know that the change is an improvement? And what changes can you make that will result in an improvement? Well, the power of those three questions is to get everyone aligned around the concepts that need to be fixed or worked at a particular time. So when I started doing this, I was looking for, okay, what are three powerful questions that, if inserted in my day, can give me an element of resolution, right? So at first I used the three question model as it came, but as it evolved, and you will see, there was a big change in terms of the power of those questions, but also how they were positioned, right? To me, what I started realizing as I studied this more and more is that if you want to have a meaningful, a purposeful life, you have to reflect in a very focused manner, right? So meditation has its place when you're basically focused on the breathe, right? The next level of this is that you use that focused thinking to essentially capture the value and then turn that into action, right? And you create purpose, right? Why purpose is so important? Because it is what will energize you, right? If you are working on something that is fully meaningful for you and for others as well, I'll explain that in a minute. If there is a drawback, if there is a downside, if there is something that is beyond your control, you're going to understand that that's not life happening to you, it's life happening for you, meaning it's something that is part of your path. But for you to understand all that, the first thing is, are you spending the time in the things that make your life meaningful, right? So that is the question to be answered. The other thing about this reflection is that in the beginning, I used to sit down and think about that in the beginning of the day. I have people who worked with me throughout my life know for a fact that I am pretty much always late to everything, and you're gonna say, well, but that's not conducive to good time management, right? And that's why I'm saying it's not a time management tool, it's a time expansion tool, because it's about allowing you to do more with the same amount of time. And yes, sometimes you are basically putting different activities on top of each other, because there will be some cancellations, there will be some things that will take a little bit less time, there will be some things that will be a little more time. But then when you're in control, the level of stress that you have will start diminishing very quickly, right? Because you're in control. You know that there are three alternatives, you know which one of those alternatives you're going to take at any given time, and you know why you're doing that. But for this to work, one of the very important things that I learned, and this was kind of a later learning in this process, I would say it happened over the last 6 months even, right? Is that you incorporate these three questions like whenever you're handing over one activity to another, right? And why do you do that? Because you're priming yourself to understand the value of what it is that you're about to execute. So this is super important, right? I'll repeat, you're priming yourself to understand the value of what it is that you're about to execute. When I say priming, right, you're getting ready, like you're powering up. And if your energy level is not where it should be, the purpose that you identify on any given activity will bring it back, right? It's not an infinite energy source, but it helps, and it helps a lot, right? It's one of the most helpful things that I found out, especially because, and you know, right? I'm in Reinvention Revolution. I have MedTech Max. I have Grid. I have all the coaching customers. So for this to work, I have to energize myself and make sure that I'm like on top of my game. every single hour, right? So how do you do that? And that's what the focus reflection is about. Okay. Another thing that is super important is the concept of flow versus autopilot. There is an amazing book called Deep Work that I would strongly recommend that if you have not read, read it. Okay, because that will explain the power of working on something very, very, very deep. All right. And what is the difference between flow and autopilot? Well, you're in flow when the activity you're executing is driving you not to think about time because it's meaningful, because it's adding value, because it's giving you something that is part of your plan, right? Autopilot is you're driving a car. Okay, you're not thinking about it. You're merely executing an activity. It's mindless. Okay? So the difference between flow and autopilot is when you're in flow, you're mindful. You're there, you're present, you're executing, you're winning. When you're on autopilot, you're mindless. Okay? And there are some activities where you will be mindless, right? Because you've mastered them, they add no value, but they're a part of what you need to do. But for you to get most of your day, you have to reflect in order to go deeper into the activities that you're executing. Okay, the amazing thing about flow is that if you're really into it, you can sit down and write, for 3 hours. You can look at graphs for 2 hours. You can speak and focus and teach for 2 hours. So, and you're going to notice that some of these things will have to be broken down. The family members will get this for free as part of the membership. But the important thing is that you recognize the questions will lead to flow. Okay? So what are these questions? The first one, just before I continue, do you guys have any questions? I got kicked out. Hey guys, I'm sorry I got kicked out of the event. Don't ask me. Don't ask me why. Uh, all right. I'm not immune. I was kicked out, Alex. I'm sorry. Um, I'm so here is what I yeah, it was pretty fun. So let me go back a little bit. This is one of those curveballs that affects any presenter. So do you guys have any questions about this? About the importance of asking those questions about why you should do that? You sure? All right. So, oh, okay. Tiago, Tiago, we can't hear you.
Is only you, Mario, or others can hear me?
Now I can hear you. I'll repeat the question.
Okay, my point is that the questions are clear for me, but the challenge is how do we use on day to day and don't go autopilot, but have these questions clear in our mind to orient our actions towards our goals.
Good. Let me go back to stage and I'll tell you. You can put the microphone, Tiago, to go to public, and then everyone is gonna hear it. Click on the microphone, and then you're on the phone. You're on the phone, right? Yeah. Okay. Don't worry. I'll figure it out. I'll tell you in a bit. All right, guys. Sorry, Tiago had a question. I moved to his table. He was not able to change to the public mic. So his question was, how do we do that on a daily basis? So a big part of Act Now, and I will go back here, okay, just quickly, is that you are essentially, just give me 1 second for me to bring back the presentation. Can you see it, guys? Rene, can you see this? Yeah. All right. So here is the trick, right? This is the tool, and you're gonna have a full-fledged class about it. But the important thing, Tiago, is like with everything else, you follow a certain process, right? So you're working here on the passion and dream. You're landing these questions here. There will be an element of what is the level of energy you need to add. Then you're going to have your 3 must do's for the day, the back office, and then you're going to start working on the day. So why is that important? Because when you are asking these questions in this particular order in the beginning of your day, you are priming yourself for the day. The next thing is whenever you're handing over important activities. So let's say I try not to build too many activities at the same time, but sometimes it happens, right? So whenever I'm handing over, I don't know, I'm gonna finish this, right? And I'm gonna go decompress for 5 minutes. I was gonna say on my phone, but I don't have my phone with me. And that decompression, I will. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be asking those questions, right? So how did I go on this? Did I serve the people I was meaning to serve? Was that impactful for them? Did they enjoy? Did they have fun? And then I'm ready. So I am releasing that energy, saving it, storing it somewhere else. I may take some notes if that is the case, right? But the reality is that in the end of whatever activity, I will decompress and I'll start thinking about the next thing, right? And these 3 questions, they are impactful because they're simple, right? The value that you're going to get of them is that it's something that you can remember. And in your case, Tiago, if you remind the times we worked together 12 years ago, it's very simple, right? You will be asking yourself those questions like every hour almost, right? And that will make you not go into autopilot. Does that make sense? Tiago, can you give me a bottoms up or a bottoms down if it makes sense for you? Thank you. All right, guys. So let's go into the questions, right? So the important thing is you know that there is a frame of reference. One of the big things about the reinvention revolution is when we are talking about the decision book and how to make decisions and how to build your unique selling proposition for everything you do, a big part of this is developing models, right? And a big part of these models, they come from the reflection of, and that reflection comes from what do you want, how are you going to execute, and why some of these things are important. Or you start with why before you start with what, and that leads to a different thinking. What is important here is that the thinking process needs to take place. So the important thing is not, am I asking the right question? The important thing is, am I asking a question? Am I reflecting? And when that part Remember, we talked about Rick Rubin a few weeks ago, this producer in Los Angeles, that when he produces big artists like Ozzy, Beyonce, when they get stuck, he will tell them, go back home, think about one word, and then come back tomorrow, right? So you don't need to rethink the song. You need to think one word. So the first thing about this is ask the question, okay? Ask the question, whatever question it is. The second thing is ask the most impactful questions. And as far as I'm concerned, these are the most impactful questions. So the first one is, what are you trying to accomplish? Okay? So I'm going to respond to this exercise that we're doing here. So the first thing that I'm trying to accomplish in this is I want to give my family members an experience for them to be thrilled. Okay? The next thing that I'm trying to accomplish is for us to do something completely different than you see anywhere else. Everybody's talking about Zoom and shit. I was talking about Zoom 12 months ago. Now I don't want to talk about it anymore, right? A big part of staying ahead of the curve is actually paddling faster. So we're bringing something new, okay? So this is what I'm trying to accomplish. That's why we invest the time, we go out, we curate tools and new technology that can help our customers, okay? So when you ask what you're trying to accomplish, especially if you have conflicting priorities, okay? So yesterday we had a MedTech Max meeting. At the same time, I had a conference call with a Reinvention Revolution customer, and we had the Reinvention Revolution team working here on production and post-production and the book and a lot of the other things that we had going, right? So, and all of these were at the same time. So for me, I excused myself and I told Andrea, I'm not going to be able to join that meeting because I have some other things that right now will be more prioritary than perhaps they were before, or perhaps they will be tomorrow. Okay, and that comes from the fact that why are you doing it? Okay, when you're clear on your why, okay, so I'm doing this because, so I'm doing this event, okay, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish because I want our customers to be ahead of the curve. I want our customers to be able to use technology to their advantage, to be able to create new marketing strategies to their advantage, and to understand very deep on their mindset that when you're doing all those things, you're going to win no matter what, right? So you should not be afraid to just invest the time, invest the energy, and then you're going to come out on the other side with something cool or cooler than anyone else, and then you're going to be able to sell it when others can't. So that's the reason why I'm doing. So when you're asking that particular question for every activity that you're executing, right, you become mindful of your motives and drivers. Those of you who know me for a couple of years will know that I have, I was never really into soccer, but after the World Cup in 2014, I completely disconnected from it, right? I was super sad on the day that Brazil lost to Germany. I was like a level of sadness I have felt very few times in my life. And yeah, that's true. But the reality is that when I started reflecting about it, right, it was just a game, right? And it was a game that was not worth me being sad. I was sad because of my country, of the people around me. But the truth is, it was worthless, right? It is just a game. It's an important game. It feeds a lot of people, but it's just a game, right? So when you realize and you're mindful about that, and you put that against your values, right? Why is it that putting that against your values is important? Because it will help you identify within you, your drivers, what are some of the things that you're doing that perhaps you shouldn't be doing, right? Or perhaps you should be doing something else. And when you ask those things along the day, and Tiago, that's to answer your question. Whenever you hand over from one activity to another, why am I doing this, right? Just a quick check in. You check in, and if the answer is not good enough for you, then stop and think, why are you doing that in a deeper manner? And perhaps you're going to change your mind about whether you should be doing that thing in the first place. Or perhaps you're going to be thinking about something else, right? That you need to do. The important thing here is that being mindful of your motives and drivers, okay? Put that against your values and then, okay, yeah, this is an important thing for me. It will drive me, it motivates me, and it's a big part of my large plan, my dream that I have, okay? The last thing is, who am I serving when doing it? Okay, I remember I told you that there are some of these questions that have been adapted. To me, this is the most important one. Uh, there is this concept of the servant leader, and I heard this story a few weeks ago about this woman who went to have an interview with a boss, and she was well she sat down with this guy, and she was starting to talk, and then the janitor came to clean the boss's office, right? And as the janitor walked in, um, she was worried that the boss was going to tell the janitor to get out, and the boss said, no, 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 come in, and do you want a cup of coffee? The boss asked the janitor, right? And the janitor, and she's impressed, right? And the janitor figures out that she is truly impressed by that, and he tells her, hey, when we had the big financial crisis, uh, in the middle of the day, I was cleaning around, I was super worried about my job, and this same boss came to me and said, hey, let's go have a cup of coffee, right? Um, and he asked me about my family, he asked me about these things that are important for me, and then in the end of the day, he said, do not worry, everything's going to be all right, we're going to figure a way out, right? And this woman, the janitor leaves. This woman, she is, in there, and she is super impressed, and she's screaming that, inside that, oh, please hire me, please hire me, please hire me, right? And this story is about the servant leader, right? The leader who will serve. As a leader, I have always been like that, but I did not pay a lot of attention. Hang on. There is a question here. Okay, Tiago. Sorry, I didn't see that in the chat. I think that what Tiago is trying to say is, if you love soccer, you will have the feeling. Yes, and being mindful is the right way about what you value and how you feel. So for me, it was just a game, right? But Alex is my cousin. He has a big Santos tattoo, and I'm pretty sure that he also disagrees with me in that respect, right? And it's fine. What matters is that you understand what you value, right? And then based on that, you're also going to understand who you're serving, all right? And why that story about the servant leader is important. For those of you who have worked with me, you know that I would get a kick out of, making people a cup of coffee, and a big part of that is because I wanted to hear their stories and connect to them in a very personal level, right? I would do that. I think in most of the jobs I had. What's important about that's who am I serving is exactly that, right? Is your ability to pin down who is the person or who are the people I'm serving right now. And when you have that, you bring clarity and you bring purpose, okay? And then that will clearly help you identify why you should do what you're doing in a very easy way every time, okay? So the reason why those three questions are important is because they connect what with your purpose and who you're serving, right? So right now, I am serving you guys, all right? Right now, I am giving you something. There was a reflection process, there was a creation process, and I want you to get out of here today more inspired than you came in. Be it because of the tool, be it because of what I said, or just be it because you connected with someone at your table and that was a good, great experience. All right? So when you identify who you're serving, it's going to become easier for you to make a judgment call about, I should do this or I should do that. Now, last part about this process is sometimes you're serving different people at a different level, okay? And when that is happening, you got to make sure that you understand that layer of responsibility. I'm doing this because I'm serving my kids, because I am actually serving my kids because I want my kids to go to a good school, or I'm serving my customer because I want my customer to get that amazing experience, or I'm serving both of them and I'm serving my kids, I'm serving my customers. But if there is a conflict, my kids will always come first, okay? And you should have that clarity of purpose as well, that who are you serving when you're doing something, okay? Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? Please clap your hands if you like it. Woo! All right, this was super cool. Did you get that? All right, so this is the part of the day that caused the most impact the last time. So we have Ask Me Anything time. So do you have any questions? Anything you would like to ask? Method, Mario, Journey, MedTech Max, how the hell do you do this? Any questions? If you're not comfortable speaking in English, speak in Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, and I will translate. Tiago, before you start talking, give me 1 second. Okay, I offered you the public mic. I think you can talk now.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Great, thanks. My question, Mario, is that do you consciously ask the three questions every morning when we wake up? Sorry, I'm hearing my own voice.
Yeah, so let me show you guys something, because I have a pretty kind of deliberate process for my day. So just give me 1 second, Tiago, and I'm going to show you something. I hope I can do it. So I'm going to put something on the screen, and hopefully it's going to work. All right, so this is my day, right? Tiago, can you see this? So every day I will come in and I will do my act now. I'm doing it here now because I'm testing this, right? I would do that on a piece of paper, and I would make sure that, so I have my my elements here, I have my day, right? And then I have a closing of the day here as well. But the most important part for the beginning of the day is these elements, right? So have I done all my things? So I've played guitar and da 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 da. So I've done that. I took a cold shower, and then I come in here, right? And what is that? That is the focus reflection. And when I'm changing, you have to be deliberate, right? You cannot get stronger by reading about push-ups. Okay, you have to execute push-ups. For this to work, you have to do it every day, right? So I do it every day, and when you start doing it every day, so some of the people in the crowd have been doing this for months now, and that becomes very, very helpful, right, for you. Does that answer your question, Thiago? Please clap your hands if it does. Thank you. Any other questions, guys? Come on. Anybody? All right. Who had questions? Sorry, Rene, did you, or was it Kil?
I can hear you.
So Rene, you have the public mic now.
Yes, Mario, thanks. Uh, yeah, I was wondering because for me sometimes it's hard um, when I'm doing the reflection to to find who am I serving, because in the afternoons that's easy for me in the restaurant. It's the customers, but while in my personal life it's like I don't want to say that I'm serving myself. Like, who am I serving? Sometimes for me it's hard. Do you have like a advice or something how to drill down that part? How who am I serving?
Yeah, so here's when you have kids, it becomes evident and clear, right? 95% of your personal time is going to be allocated for the kids, and to serve their kids, to for their upbringing, for their growth. So that becomes easier. When you don't have that, Rene, one of the things that you have to figure out, and I think you and I have talked about this, right? What is the meaning behind what you're doing and your dream and your plan, right? So when you peel that meaning down off, right, you start understanding, okay, I'm serving myself, but that is because I want to make sure that that person has a good, run for herself. It's not uncommon that when you're doing something like this, I'll give you an example, right? And I hope you don't mind. Uh, the restaurant is not only about serving your customers, you're serving your grandma, right? You love her very much, and she's been super impactful in your life, and you want to give it back to her. I mean, you can't find a purpose that is more impactful than that, right? And that's also when we go into, the six human needs. The importance of this is when you're contributing to someone, right? Then it's easier to find the meaning. Then it's easier to figure out whether you should be spending the time on that or not. Okay? So, yes, it is about ourselves, but the reality is that there's always someone else in there, right? Be it in our minds or in our hearts. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question, Reni? Good. Okay. Andrea, you have the mic.
Yeah, no, for me, this has been helped me a lot because right now that I'm starting a new chapter of my life, it's helping me to have clear what I have to do and where I wanna go and how to structure my time better because in the past I was working for someone. So that was easier, like the goals I had. And right now I have to be putting my own goals and what is the process I'm gonna follow. So it's helping me a lot to see how I should structure everything.
So, already preempting our next week journey, Andrea, if I could ask you, uh, what, like, let's say yesterday, was there anything you did because of this reflection that you would not have done otherwise?
Um, I think I structure better the path with the people I want to talk and how I'm gonna not take advantage, but use the relationships I have right now to build something else or to create to help me to build the medtech mix that we are doing, right? So I'm not a person that used to ask for favors or things like that, and I think that right now it's a moment to start using the right persons that we have in our network and how we can use them to start creating something.
Thank you, and this is great. I do think that is exactly that, right? You're shifting the mindset. All right, guys, we have time for one more question before we land. Um, can you, or do you want to have? Is there any other questions? Some of the newcomers. My friend Hera is there. That's cool. So, all right, guys. Before we finish, so I want to try something funny here and see if that works. Right? Could you give me from 1 to 5 in your keyboards? How do you feel about the meeting today? So just press together. I'm on the count of three. Just press from 1 to 5. How do you feel about it? All right. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, guys. This was super cool. This was super cool. I love to do this with you. So as I said, we're gonna inviting some of the alumni from Reinvention Revolution next week. We're gonna do Q&As with them, and we're gonna be inviting a lot of people to this. So if you want to invite more people, please feel free. There's gonna be an email coming your way soon, and it's gonna be great if you can join us again next week. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. It was a pleasure. I hope you're leaving more inspired than you came in, and you're ready to tackle the day with a different level of energy. All right. Thank you so much. I hope to see you here next week. All right. Cheers, guys. Bye.